the sun, the moon, and Saturn. We can find the worship of all three of these things in modern day religion. In the Bible, we have Jesus the Son, God the Son. Now, in the Torah, we have, of course, the star. That star is talking about Saturn. As a matter of fact, when you look at the word Israel, a lot of you noticed already, it's just a breakdown of Isis, which would be the moon, Ra, which would be the sun, and El, which would be Saturn, just another name for Saturn. So Israel is just the worship of all three of these things. When we look at Islam, the crescent moon and the star, that's the moon and that is Saturn. It's the worship of Saturn. It all goes back. So now when we look in the Bible, when it's talking about people worshiping false idols, they're basically talking about themselves because they were the ones worshiping false idols. But these false idols, when you go through the research and look at some of them, they're talking about either the sun, the moon, or Saturn. So now, Acts 7:43, it says, Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remphion, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. So now first, who is Moloch? Moloch is a giant bull god. He is the god of material, the god of evil. They used to sacrifice babies, as you can see in the depiction, they used to sacrifice babies to this bull god Moloch. So now let's go back to Acts 7:43 in the Bible, when it's talking about the worship of Remphion. When you translate this word, it means Saturn. When you look at the Coptic Bible, the word still translates to Saturn. So here we have the Bible talking about the worship of Saturn, and it's disguised as a different word, Remphion. You got to do research. Now, when we go to Islam, we can see it plain as day, the worship of Saturn. Saturn is called the dark sun, or the black square, or the black sun and the dark square, any way you want to put it. But we can see here what's going on. They are basically worshiping Saturn. That's the cube. Now we know at the top of Saturn is a hexagram. And from that hexagram, we can get the cube or the square. Now, they are walking around the square, symbolizing the storm that is going around the hexagram or the square of Saturn. Now, do they realize what they are doing? No, because Islam tells you not to do any research and not to basically try to prove your religion true. You have to basically have faith. But truth is truth, and obviously the religion is not based on truth. So now when we start looking at Islam, when we start looking at the logo or the symbol they have there of the crescent moon and the star. Now when you start doing research on moon mythology, you find out about Al-Elah. Now Al-Elah was a moon god. All they did was basically shorten the name to Allah. Now Al-Elah had three daughters, Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. They were moon goddesses. Now you'll also find the worship of Hubble. Hubble was always depicted with the moon, the crescent moon. You'll also find Baal or Baal, always depicted with the moon and the star. Looks exactly like the Islamic symbol or the Islamic logo. Now also we can find Baal in the Bible, and he is always associated or usually associated with Satan in some way. So now when we start looking at these symbolism, when we start seeing the crescent moon and the star, we can find it so many places, so many civilizations way back in ancient times worshiped and used this logo, the crescent moon and the star. Now, a lot of Muslims will look at this and they'll say, well, they just worship the same God or worship Allah, but by different names. But they don't realize that this was the worship of the moon. It had nothing to do with Islam and their religion. It was the worship of the moon. So now when we look at Judaism, when we go and we start researching the Old Testament, when we start looking at these characters, they all resemble Greek mythological figures. When we look at Eve, we have Pandora. When we look at the whole Noah's Ark story, we have Deucalion and Pharaoh. When we look at Samson, we have Hercules. When we look at God or Jesus, we have Zeus. It's the same. It's all Greek mythology. And we know 1000 BCE, we're talking about Homer wrote about these things 1000 BCE or further back, and we cannot find any Greek writings. You can't find any Hebrew writings anywhere that predates 1000 BCE that's talking about, Noah and talking about Moses and talking about what's in the Torah. You can't find anything that predates Homer's Odyssey or the Iliad. You can't find anything. So they got these things from Greek mythology, plain and simple. Now, you have to realize Greek mythology, the Old Testament, Judaism. Judaism is Greek mythology. Greek mythology is basically hiding and trying to cover up the fact that these people worship Saturn. They worship Kronos. So Judaism is the worship of Saturn. Christianity, the worship of Saturn. Islam, the worship of Saturn. Plain and simple. And what does Saturn correspond with? Satan. So you're talking about all three of these major modern religion is in essence worshiping Satan, worshiping Saturn, and a lot of people don't realize